Hi everyone, Alexa from the Duvall Homestead here, and today I'm talking about how to read and use my new ebook, 31 Days of Healthy Living. It is a free ebook, and you may have already downloaded it by the time this video comes out, but if you haven't, you can go get your copy at theduvallhomestead.com and click on the free ebook tab at the top right. First, I want to talk about my 3 tips for using this ebook and how I intended it to be used. And then I want to show you a budgeting tutorial for the budgeting template that you'll find on day 25, I believe. Basically, the idea with this book is to strengthen your skills with cooking, homemaking, housekeeping, planning, budgeting, physical health, and overall health knowledge that you may not have known before. If you're trying to be the healthiest version of yourself this year, which most of us are, I think we're always trying to be the healthiest version of ourselves, then you will probably find at least several things in this ebook that you haven't tried before. So it's worth downloading because it's free, and because why not learn some tips for yourself, your house, your life, when starting a new year or really any time of year. You can start fresh and be healthy at any time, any day. You don't need a new year to tell you. So my first tip is to use this book in each day sequentially. There's a pattern that you'll notice between housekeeping, healthy meals, yoga poses, and lifestyle hacks that you'll find helpful if you go in order. I also cross-reference other days, so if you just jump to day 25, for example, you'll miss a reference that I made to day 13. My second tip is you might be tempted to skip the yoga poses, but definitely try to do them if you can. They are simple enough that most everyone could do them unless you have some sort of injury. So of course, if you're worried about that, then talk to your physical doctor. But for the most part, every pose is very friendly to the body, and definitely read the descriptions for each pose so you get the most out of it. If you've never done yoga before, part of the benefit of yoga is breathing and relaxation and the meditation portion. So if you just flip to the page and see the pose and strike the pose and jump out, you're not really getting most of the benefit of the pose. So make sure you actually read the description. Lastly, my third tip is to share this information with family and friends and encourage them to live healthy lives as well. For example, my mom and I used to work out together when I was a kid, and we still do sometimes as adults, but obviously we don't live together. So sometimes we'll shoot each other a text and just say, have you been to yoga recently? Or I'm going today. And we'll, the other person will say, oh, I haven't gone in a few weeks. I need to go. I'm going to go tomorrow. For Thanksgiving, we made a bunch of turkeys, and then we gathered up the bones and split them so we could each make bone broth at our house, which is something I explain how to do in the ebook. So it's really fun to live healthily, cook great food, and exercise with other people. Next, I want to talk about the budgeting template and how to use it. I give a full page of instruction in the ebook, so I'm not going to go over all of the instruction because it's already there, but I will show you what it looks like when it's filled out. Okay, so I apologize if this is a little bit glary or hard to see, but we start with our income and we go to expenses. So let's just say we had primary income of $3,000, secondary income of $500, and a flex amount of $100. Primary income is your income that you receive from an employer. Secondary income is income that you may receive on the side that is a little more unexpected. Maybe it's a side income. And a flex amount is for seasonal changes in income. So if you're going to have more than normal or less than normal for some seasonal reason. It's important to note that, don't forget, as noted in the ebook, these are after tax and after any retirement contributions that you might make. So this is your take-home pay. And then we move to the expenses column. And let's say you have housing of $1,000. Now, obviously, depends on where you live, but for the purposes of this example, just go with me here. And you have a space for all of your bills. So I'm gonna just kind of make a blanket number here and say all of your bills are $300. And you have a flex amount for this. So in the winter time, for example, your water will be higher, something like that. Groceries and food, $800. That's about $200 a week. Obviously, it's always different. Then you have a line for your debt payoff. For this example, I'm just gonna put 0, assuming you've paid off the debt you wanted to pay off. And then one thing I would suggest once you get to this point is creating over here a little subtotal. So you have your total income of $3,600, and this is monthly. And then you have this little subtotal. So if you took $3,600 minus these expenses, you would get to $1,500 left over. Now, you're not done, but this is just noting that after you've paid off your debt and you've paid your bills and you have a roof over your house, you're at $1,500. Sorry if you couldn't see that, but this $1,500 is a subtotal. I just took the total income minus the expenses so far, and I'm just noting that because if I was creating this budget for myself or for our family, we would see, okay, we have $1,500 left for all of these other things, and the rest of the budgeting template are things that are not needed for survival. They might be things that you need for living, but not for survival. So savings, priority items, which I'll talk about in a second, and then other personal expenses. So obviously the most important thing is that this number is positive. So if it's not, then you need to rethink the income or the housing or one of these other bills, because this is a survival number. So your next item is your monthly savings. And this is optional, really, depending on what you want to be saving every month. But for this example, I'm going to say $400. And then you have your priority items. I gave three lines for priority items. And what this means for us when we do this is we think about, okay, what's the next thing we want to do? Maybe it's a vacation, maybe it's a new roof for your house, and that's going to be something that you save up for. So for this example, we'll say priority item number 1 is a vacation, and the priority item number 2 we'll say is charity. So if donating to charity is important to you, that would be a priority item. So these are items that you want to save for with money that you have left over. So let's just say we want to put $300 away toward a vacation and $300 to charity. So what I would suggest, and we'll have 0 for the third priority item. So what I would suggest is at this point, just like you did here, I would have another subtotal and say, okay, this $1,500 minus the monthly savings and the priority items, what we have left is $500. And I like to make these subtotals because it really is powerful to see where you're at. And this allows you to really move your money around in places that you want it to go. And so your remaining items are everything else. So personal expenses, housekeeping expenses, children, family expenses, or other. So whatever is unique to you, that would all go here. So I'm gonna just say personal expenses are 100, housekeeping 100, children and family 100, other 200, because it really just depends. So if you total this up, your total expenses are 3,600. And that was the same amount as your income. So if you're doing this correctly, your income should match your total expenses and your residual income should be 0. Now another way to do this is to go and look at your prior month's bank statement, look at how much money you made, and look at your expenses and drop them in these various buckets, and then just see what you end up with. And maybe this number is negative, maybe you spent more than you made that month, or maybe you have more left over, but the point is having control. And the next thing I would do after this is a monthly budget that we just did with this income amount. I would do the same thing for an annual budget. So I would say, and this works especially for people if you don't have consistent monthly income. So let's just say you're gonna make $50,000 in a year, but a bunch of it will be in July. Let's say you're a seasonal worker. Then do this on an annual basis. So you'd put your annual income here, and then your annual rent or mortgage payments, your annual food, and really looking at that prior bank statement, especially for the food item. That's probably my biggest tip. And so this gives you a lot of control to see, okay, where can we cut back expenses, or maybe can we increase income? Also, as I said before, I included a page before this one on instructions for budgeting in general, including the psychology of budgeting and kind of how to get your mind straight with this, how to make money a fun, exciting task, and not to make it something that's a burden or something that you don't want to look at. These numbers should be very exciting. They should reflect the ability to live and give and do all the things that you want to do and have fun and also work hard, etc. So that's why we use this template. We get really excited about these items right here. Obviously, we love to think about what can we do with our money. There are a lot of items on this list that you can't change. I think food is hard to manipulate if you're already cooking all of your meals. Bills are hard to reduce. Obviously, housing is hard to reduce. So a lot of these some of them are easier than others. So you just have to kind of go through and see what's most important to you. Of course, when you don't get it right the first time, you try again. And I can tell you it's very rewarding when you finally get to do the things that you want to do with your priority items. Maybe the priority item is a new house, or possibly your priority is simply paying off your debt. So you can jump priorities wherever you feel fit. And another tip with this template is to fill it out without the priority items and the savings. Leave that blank and just fill in all of your monthly bills, and then you see what's left over. You can print this off multiple times. That would be really helpful. And then you can allocate the amount left over to your savings, your priority items, or your debt. A third way to do this would be to say, if you're tackling debt, a lot of people tackle debt. They tackle their house, their car, their credit card. I highly recommend this. And if you are doing this, and you might say to yourself, we have to pay X amount of debt every month. So you're gonna fill in you don't have to fill in any of this. In fact, you can just start with this debt. how much is the debt payoff each month, and you fill that number out and you go from there. So everything else has to go around that number. So I hope you find this helpful. If you do, let me know in the comments below, and if you have any questions, let me know too. I love talking about this stuff. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you found it helpful when you're reading your 31 Days of Healthy Living and using your free ebook. If you have any questions or comments, please write them in the comments below this video. I will be sure to read them and respond to you. If you're new to my page, make sure you subscribe on YouTube and like on Facebook. Each week I post farm-to-table recipes, homesteading, and healthy living from our homestead in Duvall. Thanks for stopping by the homestead.